Okay, now we move on with the next plenary session about digitalization of research ecosystem in Europe. So I would like to invite on stage the co-chairs, Javier López-Albacete from the European Commission, DG RTD, and Jan Ruzak from the Institute of Physical Chemistry of the Czech Academy of Sciences. Jan also serves as a special envoy at the Ministry of Education and is co-chair of the EOSC steering board. Jan, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. What a beautiful talk. How to bring us back to the earth and try to discuss something that at least a little bit can compete with that what was just now presented. Colleagues, I am here to guide us through the next few minutes of very important and interesting panel discussion that complements somehow all the discussion we have had now about the different facets of EOSC, the EOSC Federation, the different nodes. Now we are trying to tackle the issue from a little bit broader perspective and embed all these EOSC endeavors into a bit more global ecosystem perspective. And therefore, I'm very happy that I can invite now some esteemed panelists directly to the stage, and we will have very interesting talks for the next 70 minutes. So I'm inviting now Michael Arendhoff, the head of the unit of Open Science Research Infrastructures of the European Commission. Please come to the stage. I'm quite happy that Peter Gumsch from Karlsruhe could make it. Peter is also a coordinator of a very important initiative, Material Commons for EU, where a lot of things are happening now, and I'm very eager to hear about the new developments. Let me also invite Anna Phil, the scientific advisor at State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation study from Switzerland. Anna, please. Last but not least, because we missed one of the scientists, Lisa is here. Super. Let me excuse that the information which I got was a little bit outdated, but now we have also to invite Lise Four from Géant. Please come to the stage. I'm very happy that you could make it. And now, last but not least, Robert Fim from the EMBL. This is our last panelist. Give him a big applause. Colleagues, as said, we are going to discuss infrastructure mechanisms that are necessary for the digital transformation of Europe and for the development of the whole research ecosystem. We will be tackling different topics. I have prepared a lot of notes here. I am not skipping all of them, but just saying that I am very happy that we can discuss this, let's say, holistic approach, which I am very big fan of, where we try to integrate all the different actors, all the different infrastructures, all the different means and needs to support science. And without any further ado, I am just inviting the first panelist. Michael, take the floor. Give us your perspective, or the perspective of the Commission, depends on your courage.
Thank you very much, Jan. I guess it's a bit of both. And I think you said it. This is about putting EOSC in the broader perspective. I have to say that very often, both inside and outside the Commission, we refer to EOSC as our flagship initiative for the digital transformation of research. And that's exactly, of course, what this session is about. The broader perspective that I would like to give is the most recent one, which is our most recent reference for exactly the digital transformation of research, which is the European Strategy for Research and Technology Infrastructures. So it links well, of course, to ESFRI, where you come from. It also links well to the digital types of infrastructures. So it has been very important for us to anchor EOSC into this very important strategic document. It's one of only a very few strategy documents that came out from our commissioner. The first thing I want to remark is that digitalization is everywhere in the research cycle. It goes from how we design the scientific questions to how we operate the instruments, the facilities, the services in our infrastructures, how we access them. Here you also have a digitalization component. Of course, talking about EOSC, it's about how we manage and how we share the outputs of the research. And also, may I add, how we collaborate, how we find new knowledge, how we translate that knowledge into impact of the outcomes of the research. So you might say that digitalization, it shapes the discovery, it shapes how we share, how we collaborate, and at the same time it embeds the necessary transparency that is needed also for the robustness of the results, the reproducibility of the results, and that into the scientific practices, but also, you might say, into the whole research ecosystem. So I said that I wanted to see how digitalization, how EOSC, how the FAIR agenda also is anchored into the most recent strategy that we have issued. And I would like to go through each of the objectives that we have set for this strategy, and we have already started implementing it, and EOSC is one of these cases where we can say, even on the day we issued the strategy, we have started the implementation. The first objective of the strategy is about capacities. How do we strengthen the capacities of our infrastructures? And of course, digital capacities are very important because that's the ones we need to indeed support research, which is data intensive, which is also AI enabled, and this makes the strategy, but also EOSC in particular, even more valuable. So you will see that this is very present in the strategy. There is a whole block around digitalization and the better use of AI. There's an explicit action that we will continue to sustain and enhance, the EOSC Federation. There is also an action on how we continue to support compliance with FAIR, how we increase FAIR data productivity, how we connect EOSC also to the other common European data spaces, which is a topic of another session in this conference. And very importantly also, connecting also to what happened in Copenhagen Monday, Tuesday, the AI and Science Conference, how we support AI-ready research data and services for scientific AI models. And of course, very importantly, underlying that, we have the digital capacities in terms of connectivity, in terms of computing, in terms, of course, of storage. So EOSC, we see this very central to increasing the capacities of our infrastructures. It's the federation layer, first of all, that is absolutely necessary when we need to manage continuously growing volumes of data, connect them with the services, with the facilities, with the users. Of course, it has the FAIR principles at the base of EOSC, and of course this gives the framework exactly to create new knowledge and turn this knowledge also into assets and impacts in the end. And more and more, of course, and I'm thinking about the parallel sessions of yesterday that were very much focused on AI. We see very much also EOSC as embedding AI as an integrated capability and not just one or several tools, but really integrated across the EOSC Federation as a key tool. The second objective of the strategy is about access. So we want to improve the access schemes to our infrastructures. Now, of course, here digitalization plays an increasing role. We see experiments being controlled more and more remotely. Of course, virtual research environments, digital learning tools as well. This is all, of course, thanks to digitalization. Of course, physical or in-person access will continue to be essential, but the future of access is very much a hybrid way of accessing facilities and services. Digitalization in access is also very good for expanding participation in the research system. It's easier for less connected regions. It's easier also for smaller players, be they SMEs or startups, be they smaller scale universities or research institutes, to access the facilities and the services and the data and the services on these data that they need for their research. So of course here EOSC again plays an essential role. It makes sure that users can find and they can access these high quality, fair data and the services that are produced and that they need for their research. I should also mention the EOSC Federation Catalog, which is now being developed, and this indeed will make discoverability and also access very practical at a very large scale. So having some kind of single entry point that gives access to these distributed resources. The third objective of the strategy is about people. It's about how we can attract, how we can grow talent, how we can maintain talent in our infrastructures or connected with the users of the infrastructures. And of course here, very importantly also, you will see in the strategy the push for the digital talent and the digital skills. So of course we need data stewards, we need research software engineers, we need experts in AI and machine learning, cybersecurity professionals, and of course specialists also that know how to operate integrated data platforms, that know how to handle scientific workflows. And may I add, we also need to recognize these skills, that these are properly recognized in different research careers, and it also means that we need to update our assessment systems so that these critical contributions into the research system is properly valued and properly rewarded as well. And of course, EOSC, as you know, we have launched a number of initiatives also under Horizon Europe where we help develop these skills across communities. The fourth objective is about the international dimension, and very importantly, and related to Shelley's talk, is resilience. Resilience of our infrastructures. What's the relevance here of digitalization? What's the relevance here of EOSC? Very much. There's a very much relevance when we want to align and coordinate investments for trusted and secure storage, processing and sharing of data, which is very critical for research. It's also where we develop data sovereignty frameworks. And you may have seen in what we published as a draft for the last 2 years of Horizon Europe, that there are two very important funding opportunities here as well to develop data sovereignty frameworks and also to set up some kind of EOSC federation-wide mechanism that enables multiple organizations to offer digital services, and that of course would also include storage. One last point, I know I'm out of time. It's about the objective of having a robust governance, which is very important for the sustainability of our infrastructures. How is digitalization relevant here? Well, I think that when we talk about governance, you always have, when we do infrastructure planning, to have digital capacities in mind from the outset. So this means thinking of the funding model for an infrastructure, thinking of how it's going to operate, thinking of its staffing as well. So digital capacities really must be an upfront reflection. And in all of these aspects, we need better coordination between the European level, the national level, and also the institutional level. We need to reduce fragmentation. We need to align our investments so that we can have even more shared capacities, and that includes, of course, also digital capacities. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now I'm challenging the technicians, probably using this microphone. Thank you, Michael, for bringing this very important information in this stressing ticker time here. The timer makes me very nervous. and I hope we will manage in this panel. So without any further ado, and again, thank you very much, because I think the integrated approach to this ecosystem and embedding all different kinds of activities, infrastructures, and initiatives is very crucial. And I'm also very happy that you brought the governance of the system as such to the table, because this becomes very relevant also in the context we are discussing here. So, but colleagues, time is progressing. Let me now invite Peter Gamsch. As I said, he is coming from KIT Karlsruhe, but I hope that he will give us also some information about the recent initiatives he's coordinating, namely Material Commons for EU, where data are a very important asset of. So Peter, please, the next 10 minutes are yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Jan. Thank you for having me here. I'm speaking from clearly one field, material science and engineering. And I want to take you on a very short little journey, starting in Germany with an initiative that was going on, this Material Digital Initiative that started something like 6-7 years back. And material science as a subject field is something which most of you probably are not so familiar with, but materials are all around us. The entire built environment is of materials, and advanced materials actually are at the key of our societal challenges. So coming up with new materials, mastering them, that's the central basis for most of innovations we are working on or waiting for. One thing you might not be aware of is that materials change their properties as you manipulate them, as you manufacture, as you work with them. They age, they fatigue, they have a life in themselves. And so if you think of materials, then it's not just about the development and the production of the material, but you want to use them in components that then should be safe to use up to the end of their life, and then you want to recycle and keep the material alive. So from that little cycle, you already may imagine that there is a lot of different aspects that one needs data about and needs information on the material about. And here I'm not really, I have no difficulties assuming that most of you are very familiar with the FAIR principles, but when we talk to industry, and that is actually the challenge we got with this initiative, Material Digital, to involve the industrial sector, not just academia and research, then that is an aspect we need to explain, and where everyone is sort of anxious to open proprietary data where business is built on, business models are built on, and then coming with the idea we need to build a fair data space, we need to build an infrastructure in which you can share your data with the colleagues, makes them a bit nervous at the beginning, but over time we have succeeded winning that. And so we have two initiatives in Germany, the Material Digital on the left, the NFDI activities, which you are much more familiar with, I'm sure. NFDI is member of EOSC, and there are two activities within the NFDI which focus on materials, one more from the solid state physics, one more from the engineering side. And we are actually pairing with them very closely. And the key challenge for our activities is, yes, access, data, alignment, okay, that's all there, workflows, establishing workflows. But the key challenge is that we need to align our ontologies, our vocabularies, because we come from so different fields. The chemists, the engineers, the physicists, and each community involved there comes with their own application ideas, their own ontological aspects. And so a key aspect for us, for the materials community, and I'll come to the materials commons in a second, is to align the ontologies and get them together. And for that, the NFDI helps us a lot with the unified BFO-based ontology framework. We have built a materials-related PMD core ontology that we're putting into the BFO base. We are collaborating with the NFDI on that. They use our ontology, we profit from theirs. So this alignment already occurs. And now, I suppose looking also at the German, similar French activities, there is previous EU activities also in the field of materials. There was this call for a materials commons for Europa to actually widen that, to create a federated digital infrastructure for advanced materials research and development in Europe. And all I described so far is, of course, inherited. There is so many different communities to involve in materials. There are repositories that work well, but they only actually can be used for a little slice in the cake. And so the data, the materials-related data, needs to flow all around the material in its cyclic use. And so we need to come together and form this ontological basis, form the basis for fair data to actually get the benefits of the data-centric view, namely that we don't want to reproduce our experiments over and over again as we do now. So other than the geological folks, our view is still a very diverse. The field of materials hasn't really focused on data-centric activities yet. And so this is really an initiative to take people on board, to bring the repositories together and showcase what can be done if data is actually structured fair, if there is ontology alignment, and what we can do with it also in terms of learning, federated learning on small data, on big data, and what the use of such a federated data space also is for industry. And that is actually tackling back again the point of long-term sustainability requires infrastructure, but also requires money. And so with materials, this is definitely one of the targets. We have to show that this is gonna be useful for industry and for that it opens new business models also to look on the data. And so we have put a lot of emphasis in creating this federated European digital infrastructure. We've put a lot of emphasis on the usability of the data, not just for science, not just for regarding open data, but also including proprietary data with all the difficulties of keeping it proprietary where needed and still being able to learn from that data and give some of the information away. That's an initiative. We've just submitted the proposal, so can't really talk much about our results yet, but I really hope this is going to be funded, because by the end then of the 29-30, I would strongly hope that we have such a materials data space linked to EOSC, of course. in several aspects, particularly as for the open part, the open ontologies, the open knowledge graphs, what kind of resources are where. We really need an open infrastructure. At the same time, we will have to have some more, and glad that you mentioned the governance issue, because that is a subject we will have to be working on a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. I think it's very important that you could demonstrate how data can help to develop such a very complex field like material research, like bridging the different communities, the different scientific disciplines, and even crossing sectorial borders. So I think we will come in the discussion later on to this. Thank you very much. With a huge apology again to Lisa for, I am inviting her to the stage. Please, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm glad I wasn't going AWOL. But anyway, thank you for inviting me. I'm the new CEO of Jean. And 1 year into my position, that also means I'm very new to this community. But you asked me to elaborate a bit on the Xi'an perspective on building a trusted digital ecosystem. And I could leave with just one sentence. We see this as essential, and we see ourselves as an important part of it. Full stop. But no, I'm just going to elaborate a bit on why I think this is. Let me give you a quick introduction to Xi'an. Xi'an and our members, the National Research and Education Networks, are providing a pan-European and global connectivity and services to science and research in the academic community all over Europe and around the world. So we have a network, we have a unique network because of our reach in Europe, but we also have a network that's always working, always on, always there to support the science, and this is why science can flourish. So we serve the scientists, the researchers, the students, science support staff, everything, and connecting all the educational institutions in Europe. So for over 30 years, Xi'an has sustained this ecosystem, and we are delivering high capacity connectivity and network services that ensures fast, reliable communication across all the institutions and countries. If we look at the numbers, it's around 9 petabyte that goes through our network on a daily basis. So these are good numbers. But this is not only European. For about 20 years, we have had global collaboration with other research and education networks across the world. And if we look at our numbers in the network, 25% of our traffic goes outside Europe's borders. These are important, as we also heard from our prior keynote. This is not a community that is local. We are global. Science is global, but of course we operate on local levels too. But that connectivity is one that we ensure. One good example of one of our services is EduRoam. That is one of our most successful global initiatives, offering a secure Wi-Fi access to research and education communities. We are present in 104 countries and connect more than 10,000 institutions. And we have reached new heights with about 8.4 billion authentications in 2022. High numbers and high impact. Very interesting, and I think this number is growing. But you cannot have communication without also having identity and access management. So of course, our core AI platform provides a unified, scalable solution for identity and access management across research and education communities. So we are only as good as the use. So what we see is our services are used both in the digital identities, our network, and this shows that Jean is reliable and trusted by many user groups. So for me, that is the whole purpose of being here, is that we are used by the community. But it's back to EOSC, because that is what we're here to talk about today. And over the past 10 years, EOSC, Jean, and our members have had a very close relationship as we strive to build the better integration across the European research area and deliver better services for the user community. And Jean was part of the EOSC Executive Board from 2019 to 2020, and we're one of the 4 founding members of the EOSC Association. And we have chaired the first EOSC General Assembly in December 2020. That was way before my time, but let's take the honor for this too. We are a member of the EOSC Association today, and if I look at it, my membership, the European entrants, almost all of them are also members, and we have 12 that are mandated members. This is to say that we are intertwined with each other and we are depending on each other. But we're not only a member, but we also see that Europe's e-infrastructures and the other parts of the entering community are important providers to the EOSC EU node. And we currently underpin the buildup of the EOSC Federation. And this is additionally supported by some of our members who are currently EOSC candidate nodes, that is CSC and SURF. So back to my first statement, I think we are an important ecosystem, and I see us as an important part of it, and we are intertwined, all of us. But we are not alone as Jean. We also see other European e-infrastructures being EGI, OpenAir, EUDAT, and PRAISE are here. I also think, because my time is running very, very short, that we also have to understand the importance of other initiatives like the EuroHPC, that is the new supercomputing infrastructure responsible to drive the digital transformation in Europe's science and beyond. And we are part of this and delivering. But it's not only the supercomputers, it's also the AI factories and the AI antennas. Everything is part of this digital transformation that will help the research and science community make everything better and more connected. So we see that the European Commission are at the forefront at helping that Europe remains in the center here, and that we are at the forefront on innovation and research. And I think this is, the EC is a commitment to the public good. We want European science also to be seen as a public good, and we see ourselves as public critical communication commons from this Jean side. And I think it is important we deliver on this, but also are fully aligned on European values. To summarize, we see science as a public good. We see it is important that we align with European values. We see a daily validation from our users by the use of our network and our services. But we see dialogue is important and trust is important. So if we don't have the dialogue, we can have trust, but the dialogues as we have today is facilitating this trust. But we shouldn't complicate, use what we have, build on what we have right now. And I think we should look at scale and how we can grow into adjacent services. And last but not least, remember that we are here to serve and to empower knowledge for Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lise, for this very important contribution. I think everybody of us is convinced that Jean is really indeed an important element of this overall evolving ecosystem. Colleagues, I will, with your permit, move to the other microphone because this really is stressing.
As for the choreography, I hope that you still have your Slido connections, because we will have a short round of discussion here now with the panel, and then you will have the chance to ask questions to the panelists, use the opportunity having them here. And so be ready, prepare your questions, send it in, and with help of Javier, we will then try to orchestrate that so that you get the responses from the panel. As a kind of warm-up question to all the panelists, I think we have sufficiently here discussed the ecosystem approach, but still it is important to see how the individual actors here, and you are representing the different players in the ecosystem, how do you see the future of EOSC in the digitalization, in the digital transformation, in the overall ecosystem where data are becoming a commodity? So let's start from those who have not spoken yet up. Maybe Robert.
Thanks very much. So EMBL, if you're not familiar with it, is hosting life science data. And I think from the last couple of days, I think we can all be aligned that no matter the scientific discipline, we all face similar challenges in the fact that essentially there is almost an unquenching thirst for data now. We generate far more data. People want to contextualize their data against other data sets that have already been captured. And then we also want to start integrating different data types. As EMBL as an organization, we started moving more and more to thinking about life in context. So that's not just thinking about in the laboratory, but actually in the environment and how life perceives environmental signals. So that means we can no longer be siloed. But one of the key things that we're constantly talking about is metadata. Data is useless without associated metadata. So we need to make sure that that is captured. And why is that so important? Well, if you want to contextualize or know where something's come from, you need to know where it's come from, not just the fact there's a genomic sequence or something. I think there's another piece that as we start thinking more and more about AI, we need to be able to bring in alike data sets and understand those confounding factors, the differences of how those two different data sets have been acquired. There's also a big challenge with getting data from instruments into resources like that we host at EMBL, at the European Bioinformatics Institute. So we face many challenges of hosting this data. So one is scale. I think everyone's used to the scale problem, but there are other challenges. So one of those key challenges is the fact that those resources are currently funded like mini projects. So they're all funded individually. A lot of those rely on external funding grants. The ability to have successful grants impacts the rate of digital transformation. So that's absolutely critical. You know, if we want fast digital transformation, then we need to address that sort of problem. Other sort of issues that we face beyond that sort of, funding is that some of our resources have been around for a very long time. So where we store all the genomic data, the first release of that database was in 1982. And we used to exchange that data by posting CD-ROMs. Now, I'm quite old, so I know what a CD-ROM is. Some of the younger audience won't even know what a CD-ROM is. life has changed a lot, but that resource has had code that's been hanging around for decades. And then we've got the fact that it's got, petabytes. It's approaching about 100 petabytes of data. But then we have very new resources that are growing very, very quickly. So image data is growing very, very quickly. So that will soon probably exceed that level of data. But that's a much younger resource, and it has some of the components in place. So we've heard about the funding challenge and the NIH challenge, or the US challenge that we are facing. I'm not going to go into that, but in terms of which data sets are important, we've not taken that same approach. We've taken an approach of understanding the risk associated with a lot of that data. We know all the risks now, more than I could talk for a very long time. So I think that there's a lot around that. We want to be collaborative, but we also need to be able to be independent as a European organization. In terms of EOSC and getting more focused in there, I think there are two key things that I would say in terms of the challenges ahead. One is people. We have to invest in people. And that comes across all levels. I think AI is really a real challenge. As soon as I train someone up in AI or bring someone in and they gain experience, they're off. And they quadruple their salary, and we just can't hold on to them. I think there is still this notion of cloud, and maybe only 10% of our workforce are really comfortable with operating in a cloud setting. From a technical point of view, I think the biggest hurdle for us to overcome is authentication. I've said about the resources and their age range. They all have slightly different authentication systems, partly because they're aged, and some of these resources are run as part of consortia. And they've made decisions as part of those consortia how they want to authenticate. So even within EMBL, we have multiple authentication systems, and they're quite siloed. But to do what I set out saying, we want to integrate lots of data and not just within one silo, we need to authenticate seamlessly across all of these different divisions, and also not thinking about just an individual, but there's different access groups. So if I'm sequencing, I may be as part of a consortium sequencing human population. I need to be able to give my collaborators access to that data in an authenticated way, and not just an individual. So it's different levels of that authentication.
Thank you so much. It's stressing also from this perspective. Anyhow, now I'm going to Anna, and let me specify the question a little bit more, because you are living, let's say, close to a policy decision level. And I mean, Michael said that we are trying to develop a governance of this entire ecosystem. And I'm just wondering, because this governance, guidance, coordination comes also with the need of prioritization. So can you say something about that? And in particular, I would be interested whether you see specific roles in the governance coming from a quasi-associated state, if I may oversimplify your position. And how can we jointly together contribute to the formation of such an ecosystem that holistically must be guided in order to be efficient?
Yeah, I'll try to be a bit quicker than Rob. So, sorry, no. Yeah, I think over the last few days, we've actually heard the working together and finding a common governance is very hard. And coming from Switzerland, a country with 4 national languages, 26 different cantonal regulations, we actually have some experience with fragmentation and difficulty in working together. I think what can help in working together is, first of all, kind of integrating the community more. So that's a bit what we are trying to do in Switzerland, and what was very helpful also with the governance, kind of finding out who is doing what, providing informal, formal platforms where we realize how far the communities are, but most importantly, bringing them together so that they can work better and then kind of produce this. And then I think having this knowledge of what your
demand and offer from your own communities, that is much easier also providing political commitment to a shared governance. Then I feel we actually, as member and associated states, we have some committees that we could utilize a bit better. We have ASRI, we have EOSC, and I think particularly for FP10, and I talk now to the member states and associated states, not the European Commission, we should be a bit, we can utilize this better and be a bit stronger and work together. And then lastly, for the governance, I always feel like, I know funding is kind of a sensitive subject, but still this will play definitely a role, and also, I mean, commitment for funding, but also smart funding will go a long way in the governance, I think, as well. So.
Thank you, Anna. Somebody from the panel would like to comment briefly. Time progressing very fast, and still we have many questions from the audience, but comment briefly on the issue of prioritization, coordination. If not, then let me make a bridge, because Anna spoke about fragmentation, and now a question probably to Lisa, Peter, maybe again Rob. I mean, what is the best strategy to ensure synergies and cost efficiency in this fragmented system, so that after all everything fits together and we are developing a really operational EOSC ecosystem, including all the other actors in? So
yeah, I can give it a first go. To refer to something Rob said is get the right people around the table. That's the first one. And then build the trust, because if you are to agree in a system, you need to have the trust in that this is the best system that you have. And this has been mentioned before also on this conference. I know CERN has been saying you cannot build a community without building the trust. But on the synergies, it's also about don't reinvent things. Use what you have, but also use what you have and learn from each other, trying to make the best practices what you use instead. We see with Eduroam, but also with My Access ID, it's actually things that can be implemented locally, but also centralized, authenticated. And I think creating systems that work and that has proven to work and replicate those is a good strategy of finding tools to also solve one of your authentication issues, which is, again, the identity and access management is key in all of this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Rob? Or Peter, whoever, I mean.
Okay. Yeah, I would want to tap into this last point. I think prioritizing. I mean, there are many versions of data spaces focusing on different aspects, authentication aspects, or business interaction, contract management, and the like. From our materials commons perspective, we are trying not to touch that, but actually try to link in with the other data spaces exactly in that, for that reason, because yeah, we are not the experts, and there is something, even if it's not yet suiting all our needs, it's much easier to talk to you and others in finding out the appropriate solutions then. Yeah. So that.
Thank you.
From my point of view, I think to make things cost effective, I think there are a number of elements. One is collaboration, making sure we're talking to one another to understand the crosstalk. Within EOSC, I think we're in that sort of point now where we've had a lot of bottom up. There's a point of top down, and we have to choose one thing and do one thing well in different areas, but choose one solution and do it well, and everyone get behind that solution. Because one thing that's very clear is you'll never make everyone happy. So it's the 90-10 rule of let's get 90% buy-in, and then we'll worry about the 10% as well, but they'll have to come along afterwards. But if we want this to be successful, we have to start actually doing, and I think this is the tipping point we are with EOSC and the Federation.
Thank you. Very, very important thing. So, colleagues, from the beginning, we are speaking about EOSC as an open, trusted, but regulated, secure environment where we all can behave properly, store our data, help the scientists and ourselves to develop new ideas and foster things as they are developing. It is also related to, let's say, security and other things. My question now is mainly to the two of you who are in the policy domain, which means Michael and Anna, but also to the other panelists. How can we, within this EOSC ecosystem, reinforce research security and secure Europe's digital autonomy? I mean, because this is a very important asset. So what are the strategies? How shall we proceed? Michael first, probably.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted actually to intervene on the previous point as well. So just very quickly on the prioritization, it's something we do constantly, and we see it, the choices we have made with building up the federation. It's a matter of prioritizing and at the same time recognizing we have limited resources. So we start sequencing waves of nodes joining the federation. We start in Europe as well, but still being open. And the same thing with building the federation, still being open and no one is left out. To go back to your question, the way I hear your question is almost inherent that there's no conflict between the openness of EOSC and research security. Exactly. You have transparency, you have sharing on one side, on the other side you have safeguarding the knowledge and the infrastructure. So you may say they're pulling in two different directions, but they're not. In fact, they are very much reinforcing each other. And just if you take FAIR, you know, the concept of FAIR, it has both sides. It has both the enabling factor that you can identify, you can understand your data, what exists of data, where is it stored, who can access it, what can you do with it, what are the conditions. And on the other hand, also by being FAIR, you enable your classification of data in ways of degrees of risk. So is it moderate risk? Is it sensitive data? Is it classified data? So at the same time, it reinforces both the side of open science and the side of research security. So this, I think this risk-based approach is very important, as long as it doesn't hinder collaboration. And I think this sharing and collaboration is still, it has to still be at the core of it. But let me repeat, there's no conflict between openness and security, so between open science and research security.
Yeah, thank you. This must be remembered. Quite often we shall remind that this conflict which seemingly exists shall not hinder us of using the system to its, let's say, efficient perspectives. Anna, your take on this?
No, I agree with you, Michael. I think it inherently goes together when we look at EOSC, when you have protection and collaboration. Also in the Swiss view, sovereignty is not something where we talk about isolation. It is very clearly a protected environment where you can make an informed, independent choice of who and how you want to work together with. And I think EOSC very much supports this. But when you talked about strategies, I think what is even more important, particularly when we look at research security in Switzerland, we do not understand this as a top-down thing that is just put on the community, but we very much have actually to get the community on board. And EOSC, I think, can help a lot in kind of creating awareness and being a cultural shift when it comes to research security. So from developing secure national resource catalogs, but all these things, this really actually, I think, enforces or provides a shift to research security. So, yeah.
Thank you, colleagues. Unfortunately, I have to stop this very, very important discussion at this moment to give the chance to the audience to ask some questions. And I am now giving the word to Javier, who takes over now and will ask the questions coming from Slido to the panelists. Javier, please help.
Thank you, Jan. There is very little time and lots of questions. The most voted one by far, for you, those of you that are looking at the Slido now, is about sustainability and funding. Okay, I will read literally, not to misinterpret the question. How can EOSC be an EC flagship initiative when its strategy is non-binding and only funded through short-term EC project funding without MS co-funding? So, who wants to tackle it? Michael?
I think I was the one using the word flagship, so I better start. Of course, it's also a way for us to, as I said, anchor EOSC into all the related strategies, while at the same time recognizing that we're pushing for something where we are going from a current governance and hence also closely tied to political priorities and to funding, from governance which is now a tripartite governance where we have a partnership which is of course more fixed. But also when we say it's a flagship, we are all the time mentioning that we are moving towards a mature and operational system. And that this very much needs an adapted governance and sustainability in terms of the funding model and the operational model. So while we're saying that it's a flagship, we also at the same time say that it goes hand in hand with becoming a flagship means changes in governance, changes in funding models, and changing in partnerships as well. There are different partners that would be needed to transition EOSC into production, to use the word of Monday. I think someone used this on this last slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Anna, I see you are eager to contribute.
No, yeah, I feel this is a bit also a member state associated question. Look, yeah, obviously, like, I think a certain form of long-term commitment makes sense to get things going. However, obviously, when it comes to long-term funding and the partnership, the devil lies in the detail, I'd say here. And so, yeah, I think we have to find a common way also with the member states that this will work. But I mean, we're currently in discussion and we'll see how this goes. And I think I cannot say more without losing my head in Switzerland. So.
Thank you so much. A very difficult question in the beginning. I hope the next one will be easier.
Well, yes and no. No, because it touches on a very important topic that has been discussed, which is people. I mean, the importance of having the right people, fostering talent, and creating capacity have been highlighted, I think, by most, if not all of you. And the question goes to a very concrete point, which is how do we attract the needed specialists when we cannot compete on wages? Some very technical roles can significantly increase their income in the private industry. So if it is not through money, how can we compete and attract and foster talent into our ecosystems?
Please.
Yeah, that's a problem that's very close to my heart because as a CEO, we see this is an issue. But what we are trying is to talk about the for purpose and also having that collaboration culture that we see between not only us, but the other e-infrastructures and other institutions. And I think that can bring something more for some of the candidates, not all. There will be some we will lose because the golden pot in the private sector is so much bigger. But I think the for purpose has grown in the new generations, but also attract them with the empowerment we give, see what we're contributing. You actually have much more impact in our sector than in many others. And I need to leave now, so it's not because I find this conversation boring, but I want to leave with one sentence, and that is we need to see us all as the European research and innovation ecosystem, and not only as the EOSC, but also as the EuroHPC. We need to embrace it in a bigger way, and that would be good for the future of all of us.
Lisa, thank you so much, and thank you that you made your available and came to our stage. So, Javier, I think we can go with one more questions to the panel, and then I would like to give the final round to the panel for, let's say, final considerations.
Okay, sure. There is one, another angle to this problem is about the interplay between large research infrastructures as represented in ESFRI and EOSC. And actually it addresses you, Michael, but I guess that maybe Robert and also you, Peter, could touch on this. So what are the ESFRI short and medium-term goals for EOSC? So it's from ESFRI to EOSC and not the other way around. Do you expect to build EOSC thematic nodes for all ESFRI research infrastructures? So, yeah, maybe it is addressed to you directly, but maybe we should invite the others to into
this. This is something we anticipated quite a while ago when we set up exactly an ESFRI EOSC task force to make sure, well, first that there was proper information exchange, but also to push in both directions. So from the EOSC side, push for the, of course, importance of digitalisation, use of EOSC within infrastructures and now other AI tools, but also the other way around, to make sure that what was being built up in terms of the EOSC Federation was built on our world-class research infrastructures. And we see among the first wave nodes, there are several of them. You see even in the logos, we have reused the classification from ESFRI on the different thematic domains. So what is the ambition of ESFRI? Of course, you have here the vice chair of ESFRI as well. But let me, from my point of view, what I think that we together with ESFRI should be pushing for is to keep increasing the awareness. So we already see that it has been very fruitful so far, but we need to continue. There are many more larger infrastructures, because that was also part of the question, that can very usefully join the next waves. But also it's important that the smaller infrastructures are getting on board, either by maybe joining forces and setting up their own nodes, but I think more importantly to take this opportunity to onboard whatever they have in terms of data sets and services, and also make sure that they have maybe not only one gateway, if you like to use that word for a node, but that we make them aware that there are several gateways, and they can be thematic or several thematics, or they can be national. So this is, I think, the role of ESFRI, that to continue with the message that this is a very important foundation, one of the important foundations of building the EOSC Federation.
So as part of the Life Science Connect is a thematic node that already has 4 research infrastructures. One of those is definitely an ESFRI. I think we're very much open to having other people joining, other research infrastructures joining that Life Science Connect thematic node. So I think there's the opportunity to grow. In terms of research infrastructures, why do we want to do it? We host a lot of data. We want the data used. EOS gives an opportunity for people to gain access to this data and to much bigger chunks of data in a much more accessible fashion. So I see it as a positive in the fact that we want people to use what we produce.
Yes, I'm not entitled to speak for ESFRI, but just a very short, somewhere in the room we have the chair here. But from my personal perspective, because I think we in ESFRI have for a long time advocated for this integrated ecosystem idea of which EOSC is a part, and of course the research infrastructures are an integral part of. And the idea behind that was that within this horizontally, vertically, cross-dimensionally, cross-sectorially interlinked ecosystem, we can much easier discover quality and work more efficiently. And this is the whole idea behind that. And I believe we are now in a phase where we are starting to implement this idea, and I'm quite happy about that. So colleagues, our time is over. The screen shines red. Everybody of you, just a very short intervention, trying to answer to a very simple question of mine. And if you look to the future, short-term future, 5 years ahead from now, how would you see the EOSC ecosystem to look like? And how do you wish it would look like?
Well, I can start
Everybody
with
like
the vision.
30 seconds.
No, I can start with the vision. I'd like to have an EOS that is so widely used and so well integrated and such an everyday part of research in Europe or beyond that we do not even talk about it anymore. That it's a bit like, you know, Microsoft before digital sovereignty. That's kind of what I wish for EOS in the future.
Thank you.
But for how it should look like, I'll hand over.
Oh, no. No, my view on the future of EOSC is that it is so attractive that the potential partners, other networks, just want to join. That we are over this build-up hill and then get more of a pull factor into EOSC. And very selfishly for the materials community, I hope for a materials node that we can link our materials commons to.
Thank you. Robert?
I just agree completely. The fact we don't talk about it and it just works and people aren't actually thinking about it. I mean, it just happens. It's part of every day. We don't talk about how our phones communicate with one another. It just happens.
Thank you. And now the most important player in the room, the European Commission. How is the future?
Not at all. I think yesterday the question was asked to the CERN representative, and she said it's everyone together. It's not one particular one. So that I absolutely agree with. And I also agree with the uptake. Uptake is the key. As long as this becomes transparent and no one talks about it anymore, this is how success looks like. And I would very much hope that also Mr. Hayter's words, which were repeated at least twice previously, that EOSC has the potential to become the most widely used infrastructure in Europe if developed properly. And my boss added, you are developing it properly. So this is my hope that by 2030, this will become reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And by that, this was the closing remark, colleagues. I hope you have enjoyed the panel as much as I have. I think the panelists have deserved a big applause. Thank you all very much.